Hey everybody, my name is Paul,
And I am Vanda.
and this is Business as Usual. Today we're going to talk about when life happens. Vanda, you're in a shitty mood today. What's going on?
I am in such a terrible mood. Um, but I'm going to pull myself through it and reach for a higher life condition. Just health insurance battles.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little crazy, when doctors don't do what they're supposed to do or they don't send the information that they're supposed to send. And it's not within a timely fashion. It ends up costing all of us. And if you're like me and you have a copay with your health insurance, it becomes really frustrating. So this morning I found out that there is an appointment that I'm supposed to do in order to complete a host of appointments so that I can have a surgery. And I'm kind of like, well, how come no one's told me that? Well, it's on their list. And I'm like, no, I've got all the paperwork here and it's not on my list. And so it's just, you know. So will it delay the surgery? Absolutely. Does that work for my life? Absolutely not. Why is that? Well, no one wants to be, and just in case maybe you don't know,
Mm.
the time to do hospital practice, if you have a choice of scheduling, is not during the holidays. Let me be very clear. November and December are not favorable times to do hospital practices. And that would include surgeries or any kind of major medical. And so why is that? Well, it's been my experience and my understanding and understanding that doctors and nurses, they're human too.
Mm-hmm.
So they're on vacation. They are overwhelmed with house guests and visitors and family members and, drinking a little too much wine at dinner with their grandparents in town. That's real.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens for everyone. Wouldn't you say? What's your holiday season like? Does it feel, does your November, December feel like March and April?
For me, every year that I've been doing business for the last 4 years, and I've noticed things slow down during the holidays, just in general. And people want to relax. They want to be with family. They don't prioritize their business as much, or if they're an employee, their job. They want to take more time off. So, especially doctors and nurses. So, I find it harder to get in touch with people to schedule things during the holidays. I mean, once Thanksgiving hits, that tryptophan is a trip through December. I mean, it's just whoosh, gone until January when everyone's like, oh, all right, back to work, I guess.
Exactly.
Yep. So that sounds very relatable what you're going through. I'm sure a lot of our viewers can relate to that struggle, especially the ones who are self employed.
Well, that would be me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having terrible allergy. So the other side to that is, so that doctor that has family in that's been sightseeing or performing or perhaps taking a day off
Mm-hmm.
and still trying to fit his clients in because remember, this is a business. Hospitals, doctors, technicians, they're here to make money. So what does that look like? Um, are they doing a 4-day work week, trying to get 5 days worth of work in? Yeah, I mean, they are. Are they rushing through? Um, I went to the dentist last week and I went 2 weeks prior
Mm-hmm.
and I was having a deep cleaning.
Okay.
So we had anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
We got needles in almost every tooth, every gum socket. Ooh, it was a lot. But the first time she was wonderful 2 weeks ago. I walked out. She was kind. Dentists are not really where we want to be, especially when you've got to have more than one needle. And I could feel the pressure of probably about 8 to 10 different pressure points with the needle.
Mm.
And you know what's happening. You know what I mean? You know what's happening. So even though you may not feel the piercing of the needle, but she waited a nice amount of time. She gave it, 60 to 100 seconds to make sure that the Novocaine paste began to work. So I didn't feel the needle. And it was a wonderful process.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I went back 2 weeks later and the process was very different.
Hmm.
And this relates to, once again, it's a business and there's money involved. And so I waited longer than usual for the dentist to call me. And when I got in her chair, she swabbed me with the Novocaine paste. And I felt every needle. And I just had to, like, I thought, okay, come on, big girl, put your big girl panties on and let's just suck it up. And finally, I just had to like raise my hand for her to stop. And she's like, what's wrong? And I said, I don't know. So let's talk about it. What's going on with you today? How are you feeling? And she was like, what? And I'm like, well, something's wrong. Your energy is really off. You're being really aggressive. I'm not feeling peace. How's your day going? What's going on with you?
Mm-hmm.
And she laughed and she said, well, it's been very hectic here. And I said, and I'm feeling that. I'm feeling all of that. It's being transmitted through those needles. She didn't wait a significant or an appropriate amount of time for the Novocaine paste to work so that I didn't feel the needles.
Right.
So I'm feeling her rushing and I'm feeling her haste and I'm the patient. And I kind of wanted to leave. I'm like, well, maybe this is not the day that we should do this.
Right.
And she went, no, 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 no. I apologize. It's been a lot. And so what was the deal? And she shared it with me because I called her on it.
Mm.
She was trying to fit a stream of patients in a short amount of time because they were behind. And I'm like, because what? Because a dentist's office, a doctor's office, it's business as usual, right?
Right.
And so if someone's coming late or the doctor woke up late and they're frantic because they've got a caseload, just like anybody else's business and a deadline, that affects your care.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was affected. And I'm happy that I said something because it completely changed her process after that. Mm-hmm. And I suggested that she breathe. So here I was. I said, okay, I need you to breathe.
You were
I need you to breathe. I need you to inhale to 4. I need you to hold it for 4. I need you to release for 4, or else we can't do this. And so that was my experience this morning as well, understanding that because I hadn't gotten all the information, surgery may be pushed back into holiday. Mm-hmm. And I find that we need to be aware that everybody is doing business as usual, including your surgeons and your dentists. So do you really want to be there during that time when it's a high stress time? It may be a slow time for many industries, but people are distracted. Distractions are real. Mm-hmm. I just had house guests here, and it was very challenging for me to work while they were in my living room and Chinese food is being delivered. And the dog is barking because I live in an apartment building. So the dog knows that somebody's coming up and the house guests are trying to answer the door. And I'm in my office listening to all, there's a different, your energy is heightened in a different way and you're trying to work. So the same thing happens for physicians and medical practitioners. And so I encourage you guys to really think about that. It may cost more at that time of year as well, but and then they're coming and practicing on you. So are they in their best form? Do we think about that as we're spending our money on something very personal, very important when it comes to medical issues? We have to remember that they're human and they go through stressful times, especially during seasons, just like the rest of us. So I have a little anecdote for that I've used in the past. I've only had 2 surgeries in my life, and they weren't until later in life. But I always, my 2 times, found it necessary to, I do a prayer for the doctor. I'm
Mm.
praying for him and his whole family. I need him to be in his best form. I need him to not be stressed about his financial situation. I need him and his wife to have had a wonderful evening the night before they get to me on the table.
Mm-hmm.
I need him to have had a wonderful morning that morning of. Like, we don't, they're human just like us, and
Mm-hmm.
they're still going to do business, but I think all of you can attest how you do business, your attitude, and the um, what your head where your headspace is truly important when you get to that desk, or you get to that, that operating room, or you get to, that office space, or you get to that event space.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my experience this morning.
Well,
What do you think?
well, I can tell you, in my business, my personal life has definitely not just bled over, but gushed over into my business, and it was very distracting, very destructive to my process. I pretty much didn't have a process anymore because I was dealing with my ex girlfriends and their kid, and um, that sort of thing, and I had a point in my life where I actually snapped. I broke. I left without telling anybody. And I needed to get away from everything. And if you don't take care of your shit, okay, we do swear in this show, just so you know.
Yeah, your emotional health. Okay. Uh-huh.
Yes, your emotional health is so important. And I hadn't discovered the concept of work life balance. Um, you know, you leave work at work and you leave home at home. Uh, that's a skill. That's a life skill to be able to separate those two things.
Agreed.
Um, I had a therapist one time that, out of respect for me, he said, "Hey, can we, not have a session today? I'm canceling all my sessions because I'm having a rough time today." And I said, "I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that. That's fine. Let's
Brilliant.
do it next week." So the people who realize how to do that serve their clients better, even if they inconvenience them by time. Um, you know, that uh, dental assistant maybe could have taken 5-10 minutes in the morning to meditate and said, "Okay, I'm gonna go about this day with a little more patience, even though we know we're gonna be rushed. I can only do one thing at a time." So it's so important. I mean, I've upset clients in the past because I'm like, I'm gonna get this done by the end of the day or by tomorrow. I set an unrealistic expectation, and knowing that my personal life was going to be interfering, and it's something I've had to learn over the years, how to manage my time and client expectations better. No matter what business you're in, whether it's medicine, marketing, finance, insurance, auto mechanics, anything, doesn't matter. You have to be able to separate those two things and manage it. So, and I'm a Libra, so I'm all about balance.
Yeah,
If you're into the
that's just real
zodiac
talk.
sign thing, yeah.
No, that's real talk. That's real talk. So, and so when you are the client, or it is your client,
Mm-hmm.
it's, and mental health is important for everyone working together smoothly.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to take a moment to find out, like, so how are you?
Right.
Uh, Especially if it's a doctor that's cutting you open.
Yeah, that's a little vulnerable position. I don't think you should be getting in
Hmm.
my mouth right now. As Sweeney taught it. Just
Hello. So I
so
had to back up and be like, wait a minute, how are you? Because your energy is all over the place. And I think she was surprised. I don't know that many people have stopped a dentist in her tracks and been like, what's something's going on with you? I know she was a little taken aback because I could feel it. And so we do. We transfer energy, we transfer our upset, we transfer frustration. And so when important events are happening, you certainly don't want to transfer that to your client or your project, nor do you want that transferred to you. So that brings me to the whole mental health piece.
Mm-hmm.
Let's humanize these folks that we are working with, that we're expecting services from, because they're human just like us. It's interesting. I watched news this morning with my house guest, which I rarely do.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an interview, don't ask me who, but a gentleman was interviewing 3 or 4 athletes
Mm-hmm.
that had all, come clean, gone public with their mental health issues.
Hmm.
And at one point, I heard the interviewer say, it's so important that we humanize these icons, these legends,
Mm-hmm.
that they actually break just like we do. They can break down too. They can have accidents, they can miss the ball, and I just thought, yeah, so that kind of really pinged for me this morning when I was going through it, that like I have to take a moment and humanize my surgeon, my dentist. How are they doing? Because we do have incredible expectations when we walk into an office or, a place of service for that event that's about to happen or that procedure.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not thinking about, did he have a bad day? Did he fight with his child? Did him and his teenager have it out this morning, or him and his wife, or, what's going on? So, our state of mental health at that, or is there depression going on? Like, it affects everything. And it's a private matter, so it's hard to, just approach someone you're doing business with.
Right.
So you have to be creative with it, and you have to be compassionate. But I just want to say that it is part of doing business.
Mm-hmm.
And it is an area that we should be cognitive about.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think I'd feel comfortable if my barber was shaving my face and got pissed off and
Exactly.
so that's why I
So
shave
it's
my
kind
own
of like if
face.
you walk in and he's having a big fight with the barber next in the next chair with him, and you walk in and he's like, "Oh, hey, come sit down. It's good." Oh, are you like, "Oh yes, let's do me now with all of that edge you've got"? You're like, you know what? Would you like some coffee? Maybe I'll go get. Would you like a donut? I'll be right back. And let's. Yeah, we need to think about that. I feel like we expect a lot from human beings sometimes.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to be mad when you're eating a donut.
Yeah, go get him a donut, or just the idea that somebody's asked about you or thought of you. It's always nice. So
Yeah,
I like to do things like that.
self
Bring coffee.
awareness. Yeah, self awareness when you're
Oh,
giving a a service to somebody like a barber or a dentist who's rooting around in your mouth. Um, that's pretty important for them to be self aware of how they are when they're working on you, because that's almost like a lawsuit waiting to happen. You know what I mean? That's like when surgeons mess up
yeah.
because, I mean, if you watch Grey's Anatomy or something like that and you're into
Oh,
those,
I love that show. I've started watching again lately. I hadn't watched for years.
yeah, that show is literally all about personal lives bleeding into work. That's
Yeah,
literally the plot. It's just
exactly.
so,
And they support one another, though. Like, where does
yeah.
your support come from?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ignoring it? Are you being conscious? You're right. Are you being self-aware that, like, maybe I need to opt out today and have a mental health day?
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't wait for everything to break down around you before you realize that.
Right.
Give yourself grace. Be compassionate with yourself. Because if you can't be compassionate with yourself, then how the heck can you do it with anyone else?
That's true.
And I'm talking from firsthand experience. So, and being compassionate with yourself is different than forgiveness. Forgiveness is a little deeper. But just in those special moments, be compassionate with yourself. It's okay to cancel an appointment and say, and I've done this. I just I need a mental health day. Can we reschedule? And usually no one will question that,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you handle it in a way of with advance notice
Mm-hmm.
and with respect. I think that there is integrity that is maintained when you can do something like that. Folks are not actually going to judge you for opting out and not putting them through your stuff,
Right.
Yeah. Remember to opt out. I think it's a great suggestion.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, that was the episode for today. When life happens, you feeling better, Vonda? Everything?
I'm feeling better. Thank you.
I knew you
I'm
would.
not going to opt out today, though. I've got a lot of work to do. But I am feeling better. And, find somebody to talk to. Sometimes that's all it takes. Make a phone call, get it out, work it out. But yeah, check in with yourself, check in with your people that are serving you, and make sure everybody's in their best emotional state.
Yep.
And with that, thank you so much, Paul. Business as usual. I'm Vanda.
And I'm Paul. And thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next week.
See you soon.